Insights on Michael Dell's Play Nice, But Win. Narrated by Aaron Fredrickson. Overview. Play Nice, But Win, a CEO's Journey from Founder to Leader, 2021, offers life lessons from Michael Dell, the founder and CEO of one of the world's leading technology companies. Dell's journey in the tech industry began even before he was a student selling computers from his dorm at the University of Texas. He was already in the computer business in high school. Dell focuses on the challenges of transforming, enhancing, and keeping his company, with a particular spotlight on his 2012 attempt to take it private again. Up and down. For Dell Inc., the year 2005 seemed promising. Dell was building on a nearly two-decade run of sales, profit, and cash flow growth. In February, Fortune named it America's most admired corporation. However, by September, the situation was deteriorating. Despite a 28% increase in earnings in the second quarter, total income fell short of estimates by several $100 million. The company was grappling with the same issue that other established tech companies were struggling with: how to raise sales when they were already very high. Personal laptops and computers, which accounted for nearly 60% of Dell's sales, were no longer as profitable as they once were. As prices fell over the course of the year, Dell needed to sell massive amounts of PCs just to reach the same income as the previous year. If there was any blame to be attributed for the revenue loss, then founder and CEO Michael Dell definitely shared it. It became clear by late 2005 that Dell was facing major challenges. Dell's competitors were growing smarter than ever and had learned to replicate several of the company's supply chain advancements. Meanwhile, customers were focusing more on services and solutions, as value shifted from the primary client product, the PC, towards servers, data, and software. Dell took some time to realize all this. At the same time, another positive was turning negative. The company had been focusing on profit at the expense of growth and share for several years. Yet, any successful company is always a balance of those three. Dell's earnings were high in the 2000s, but its market share was declining. It had to develop new skills, invest in new fields, and take quick action. Entrepreneurial spirit. Michael Dell was born and raised in Houston, and he is a proud Texan. During the first 14 years of his life, he lived with his parents and brothers in a simple house in Meyerland, a mainly Jewish district in the city's southwest. In 1979, they relocated to a wealthier part of the town named Memorial. His father had built a large orthodontic practice and diversified into owning office space. When Michael and his brothers went out to play with their friends, their parents would tell them, "Play nice, but win." His mother was a smart woman, especially skilled at mathematics and business. Michael believed she passed on some of her abilities and interests to him. She invested successfully in stocks and real estate, eventually becoming a stockbroker. Michael was not an athletic child. He liked to collect stamps and baseball cards, but his heroes later became entrepreneurs who challenged the established order and started businesses from nothing. He read about them in business publications and tracked their stocks. He also became fascinated with computers as a young teen. When he wanted money for an Apple II, he went to work for his dad in restaurants at a coin and jewelry store. Entrepreneurship was the heart of his family. He found early on that he liked making money and thought it was fun, and he had a passion for business, math, and science. Turning private. CEOs of public firms and even founder CEOs work according to the interests of their boards of directors and shareholders. The board has responsibilities towards the shareholders, and the CEO reports to the board. The board determines the salary, supervises the work, and has the authority to oust the CEO. There have been multiple examples of CEOs being dismissed by their boards. It has happened to major company founders from time to time, and the most famous example might well be Steve Jobs, who was fired by Apple in 1985. When Michael set out on his mission to make Dell private in 2013, his expectations weren't very high. He didn't believe he was invincible or all-powerful. He never imagined himself to be acting on his own or under impunity. So he had to inform the board, and once the news became public, shareholders would have a say as well. When you make a firm private, you are basically selling it. Michael wanted and needed to be the one who ended up buying Dell, along with one or more private equity firms that would offer the best price to shareholders. However, when he put the company up for sale, Michael knew someone would undoubtedly try to take it away from him. His business was a paradox. Even though Dell bore his name, he held less than 16% of the shares. Yet he couldn't help but think of it as his company, because he had been the one to found it. He had a connection with it. The startup. In theory, Michael was majoring in biology at the University of Texas, on his way to becoming the doctor his parents wished he would be. Yet the truth was a little different. Michael moved to Austin even before finishing high school and starting college. He took along his flourishing business upgrading and reselling PCs. He lived in an apartment until moving into his dorm room in November 1983. His startup, called PCs Limited, would later become Dell Inc. His IBM PCs sold almost as quickly as he could upgrade them. His room was crammed with computers and computer boxes, as well as peripherals and accessories such as hard disks, motherboards, memory sticks, and soldering irons. His academic performance dropped, but his business prospered. At first, he used to attend his classes. He would dutifully take notes as his professors rambled on, but mostly he stared out the window, wondering when he'd be able to return to what he was actually interested in. He also wasn't involved in any campus activities. By February 1984, he was spending less and less time on his studies. His parents were hearing more about what a really successful business he was managing, and they weren't happy. Whenever he saw them, he could tell they were both angry, though they eventually came around and accepted his choice to leave school. FUD. The press has called Michael many things: an enfant terrible, prodigy, a genius, an idiot. Over time, he has become immune to name-calling. Most of the criticism no longer worries him for long, probably because he knows that the press focuses more on causing controversy than conveying true information. In his opinion, most news is exaggerated, whether for good or bad, with the truth always falling somewhere in the middle. He never had any intention to transform Dell into the next Apple or Samsung. All he wanted was to transform today's Dell into tomorrow's Dell. But it seemed that Dell's success was a danger to HP, Dell's main rival at the time. HP felt the need to provoke some FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt about Dell's future. A few hours after Dell publicly announced it would become private, HP released a grave statement claiming that Dell had a very difficult path ahead. According to HP, Dell was facing a prolonged period of uncertainty and transformation, which would not serve its clients well. With so much debt, Dell's capacity to invest in new goods and services would be seriously affected. HP believed Dell's clients would want to try alternatives, and it intended to fully seize the opportunity. A promising start. In September 1985, PCs Limited was already flourishing. It had made more than $6 million in revenue in its first 9 months, and that figure would rise to $33 million by the end of its first full year on January 31st, 1986. The company was expanding quickly. It continued to sell customized PCs to physicians, attorneys, architects, and other professionals in Austin. But thanks to national advertising and computer publications, it was also selling computers throughout the country. Dell was starting to receive orders from some really large corporations. Did Michael know what he was doing? Sometimes yes, and sometimes no. Despite his entrepreneurial upbringing, he had never managed a business before, so there was a learning curve. Yet it wasn't all about learning to manage a business. It was about learning to manage a business that was unlike any other, even if on the surface it seemed like any computer firm. The mid to late 1980s were a golden period for tech startups. Though many firms tried to copy him by producing built-to-order PCs and sending them out the same day, as well as giving free technical help over the phone, Michael's startup was the only one that succeeded. He was working 16 hours a day to keep everything running. He kept a bed in the back of his office where he slept when he could. His parents were very worried about him, terrified that he was losing his mind. Yet it wasn't just him they were concerned about. Michael hired many people, and some of them were married and had children. Their livelihoods depended entirely on him. What if his plans all failed? A risky move. As Michael proceeded with his mission to make the company private, he was concerned about day-to-day operations at Dell. He had already lost clients due to uncertainty, and he was certain he would lose more. Yet, he was more concerned about what his team members were thinking. He needed to keep Dell on track, and he was worried about what would happen long after he was gone. He had been watching the industry's speed increase, and keeping up was essential. It was also critical to manage Dell's move from a focus on hardware to software, mobile, and cloud. Dell had to change as soon as possible, or die. The improvements Michael was making would provide the stability his clients desired, while still allowing the organization to be more flexible. However, the risks he was taking would make the road ahead rough. Setbacks would be inevitable, which would not sit well with the public shareholders. From PCs Limited to Dell Computer. PCs Limited formally became an international firm in June 1987, under the new name of Dell Computer Corporation. Dell sales had increased from $33 million in the 1986 fiscal year to $60 million in the 1987 fiscal year. Michael could see his sales reaching $100 million or more in the 1988 fiscal year, but despite this, he had little more than $300,000 in cash available. He needed actual operating money, not just loans, to conduct more development and research, hire more employees, and get more of the best materials. At the time, the obvious next step was to take the company public. It was the only way to get the funding he needed. It was at this time that investment banks began contacting him. There were several suitors. The company was still young and fresh, and it was expanding by the month. It was making noise, especially because of what was behind it, a high-quality, custom-built product that was also well-priced due to the lack of a retail markup. Struggle and change. Michael understood from the start that having a partner on the go private was critical. To establish the price for a Dell buyout on his own would have been an obvious conflict of interest. He needed a partner and a special committee of independent board members to ensure that shareholders got the best offer possible. Michael wanted to partner Dell with Silver Lake, a private equity firm that invests in technology. However, the special committee initially rejected the deal. They argued that Michael had been negotiating an undervalued merger and persistently pushing for its approval. The special committee was worried about how far he would go to keep Dell under his power. In the end, however, a deal was hammered out. As time passed, Michael started realizing that his business was successful not just because of the high-quality products he was offering, but also because of what had driven Dell's success from the start: its direct relationship with clients, from sales to delivery and technical assistance. Dell also made a significant adjustment to its business strategy in 1990 by offering PCs in discount shops and superstores. Some at the company argued in favor of this, and some opposed it. The opponents said that stores could never provide the support that consumers expected from Dell. The supporters emphasized the significant increase in PC sales at discount shops and superstores, as well as the opportunities to reach individual clients and small business customers who shopped there. Many people preferred getting computers that they could see and touch, so entering into this market would help spread the Dell brand even more rapidly and generate around $125 million in annual income. Indeed, by 1990, Dell revenues had reached $389 million. Statement of Values. Michael drafted a statement of principles for his business in November 1988, a few months after Dell went public, in an attempt to define his work culture. He wanted his team members to read it because he meant every word and cared a lot about what he had written. In the statement, Michael wrote that Dell was committed to providing excellent customer service. Its one-on-one relationship with its clients was critical to its success because it offered the framework within which Dell adjusted to the customer's changing demands. It was committed to making every effort to meet the legal claims of all shareholders in the business, in addition to serving clients, workers, suppliers, special interest organizations, and communities. He also wrote that employees would be encouraged and rewarded for their initiatives, collaboration, responsibility, and excellence. Dell would offer high-quality items with prompt and friendly service at a reasonable price. In all of its transactions, it would adhere to the highest standards. People continued to be the company's most valuable asset, so Dell would create an atmosphere that attracted, encouraged, and retained top professionals. Employees would have a say in decisions that affect their jobs and would reap the benefits of their efforts. The tech boom. Life on Earth started in biological variety an estimated 540 million years ago. Nobody yet knows how this happened. There are stunning similarities between the start of life and the technology-driven data growth that started in the mid-1950s and continues at an ever-increasing rate to this day. According to a 2003 UC Berkeley study, around 5 exabytes of data were generated in 2002, approximately twice as much as was generated in 2000. By 2017, the global datasphere, which is the quantity of data created, collected, and reproduced in any given year, had grown 5,000-fold to reach 26 zettabytes. The following year, the figure rose to 33 zettabytes. It reached 59 zettabytes by 2020 and is expected to reach 149 by 2024. Steam power and water fueled production during the first industrial revolution. Electric power enabled mass manufacturing in the second. Electronics and information technology automated the third, which started around the middle of the 20th century. The fourth industrial revolution, which we are currently witnessing, is expanding the third, but with a surge of new technologies that are reducing the limits between the physical, biological, and digital worlds. A tech future. The digital future is a network of clouds interacting all together. For this reason, Michael and his teams are devoting significant resources to the development of the Dell Technologies cloud. The company was renamed Dell Technologies in 2015, and it is a pioneer in innovation, spending more than $4 billion per year in research and development. Dell now has more than 32,000 issued and pending patents. Michael not only likes technology, but he also likes how technology is improving the world. Technology itself is neutral. It can do good, but also harm. Yet, as far as Michael can tell, the industry mainly includes people who want to do good. Just like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, and of course, Michael Dell. All these people can figure out how to do something better than others and prosper. This is the era of specialization, and it's likely to expand even further in the future as economies become more specialized and advanced. In December 2018, Dell was once again taken public, in an attempt to simplify it and strengthen its strategic position. Author style. Michael Dell's writing style is easy to read, but he somewhat confusingly shifts from one time frame to another in every chapter. Play Nice But Win is divided into 2 main parts, and it features a photo section from his archives that includes financial statements of PCs Limited, photos of Michael and his family, and a photo of him with Steve Jobs. Author's perspective. Michael Dell is an American entrepreneur and businessman. The Bloomberg Billionaires Index has listed him as the 24th wealthiest person in the world. He is a member of the International Business Council's Executive Committee and the World Economic Forum's Foundation Board. A list of things Michael believes in is featured at the end of Play Nice But Win. They include curiosity, relying on facts and data for decision-making, commitment, perseverance, trustworthiness, integrity, and ethics.